Brandan and Ken.
Yes, sir.
Hello, you two.
Yeah, this is Kent Haegar. He is my new associate. We're working together for about... how long has it been now, Ken? It's been like 8 months. We started to save our ship back in last May, I think, maybe? When did we start this? Was it October?
We started the project originally back in October, yeah.
Oh, okay, it was October. All right. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, I'm just going to real briefly just introduce what this presentation, and I'm just going to pretty much just let you guys talk, okay? But first off, everybody, you can click the watch stream button on Thain's stream to see Save Our Ship, a mod for Rimworld that's currently shipped and released. Shipped, haha, punny. No one's made that joke. That Ken and Brandan have been working on. All right, take it away, guys.
Okay, so yeah, you guys know me, the ones that are at the meeting. My name is Brandan. I go by Thain on the Discord. You probably remember my very long rambling messages. But this is Save Our Ship. It is a mod for Rimworld, and it allows you to build your own spaceship and then fly it up into orbit around the planet that the game is normally played on. And typically when you win Rimworld, you escape the planet, and that is the end of the story for you. Like, you escaped, good job. You basically threw away all of those maybe hundreds of hours of work making your colony, but now you've just made it to space and gotten a very expensive win condition. Now you can take your ship, fight other ships, have boarding actions, construct all kinds of different pieces in these wild configurations, and then take your ship to another planet, land on that planet, and continue your story, which is a pretty cool revolution. So we basically took Rimworld, which is a colony building simulator, and gave it an almost new genre ending, which is pretty awesome.
The impetus for the original development of... I simply wanted to be able to launch a ship that had an inside to it. Because in vanilla Rimworld, ships are these janky, welded together steel beams. I noticed my interior deck that looked livable was completely left behind when I launched. That offended me on an aesthetic and personal level. Then I decided, as long as I'm futzing around with the code for how ships are constructed, wouldn't it be great to save it off to a file and do sort of a New Game Plus? And that was decently popular back in the Rimworld beta days, but after the full release, I decided, yeah, the concept of Colony to the Stars was too engaging to be simply an expensive win condition. Wouldn't it be great if we added orbital gameplay? And here we are.
Yeah. And it is a really cool system, I think. I mean, it's one of the more engaging space combat games that I've ever played, personally. Like, it's kind of got the game Cosmotier in its genetics, because Cosmotier is very similar to Rimworld, where every single little building unit is just one little square block like this. And then their characters also kind of have like this limbless... They don't have arms and legs. They're just kind of like these little beans, basically, walking around. And you can see the ships getting blown up and torn apart. But it's also got a little bit of FTL in there as well, with all of those fun Rimworld things where you can jump in and you can see what kind of character they are. Like, they're having jokes with each other down there. They have relationships. They've got personalities. And I've always thought that was a really cool aspect of this game. And being able to do that on a spaceship while you're under threat of getting blown into little tiny bits, I think is just really exciting. So I initiated some combat really quick with another ship. And the way that we were handling it is basically we're just firing these weapons at other maps.
Oh my god, is that... Did you... Is the enemy ship an exact... You reuse the same hull. This is great.
Yeah. So this is the heavy frigate. So we're fighting ourselves basically. I just hollowed one out for the players so they can have a new game start. Like basically, this is a new feature that we're trying for Save Our Ship, where you can actually start on one of the ship hulls in space, where you don't have to start on the ground if you don't want to. You do have to like jump down to the planet because eventually you're probably going to starve to death, or you're going to run out of some sort of resource or another, or maybe you just want to build a relationship on the ground. But yeah,
I have been doing
cool.
some. Sorry, go.
Go ahead.
I have been doing some play. If you've got a good research pond scanning at the ship bridge for space sites, it is entirely possible to get a steady stream of materials incoming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you never have to leave the ship at all, which is the best.
You can see pure space becoming a new challenge akin to sea ice, where can I survive only with the resources provided by going to ship debris, value droids, and salvaged from enemy ships.
Yeah. And basically, if you guys are unfamiliar with Rimworld, surviving on the sea ice is like the hardest because it has barely any resources. The land itself is basically frozen beneath your feet, and there's no real way to expand in that environment without some extreme grinding. So space is kind of like the next version of that, where you're extremely limited to this tiny little space, like literally like inside of your ship. The hallways are so tight that you basically have to pack materials into these hallways like it's just like a trash teenager's bedroom. And it can start getting hot. Like you can start to see this glowing material. Like currently this room is 300 degrees Celsius in our heat sinks.
Your shield's taking a lot of hits.
Yeah, we've been smacking each other pretty good. I've also been running away and like had my engines on this whole time. I think we should actually try to get up close and maybe try to fight them. But I'm going to lower my shields and vent some of the heat out because it's getting a little spicy in here for our boys.
So
How
one of
bad
the
are they
main
doing?
mechanics here is heat dissipation as well.
Yeah, so you've got an energy bar and you have a heat bar. And when your heat starts to get too high, that could shut down your shields. Like currently we're doing pretty good. We've only taken a few hits back here in our engines. We probably should get somebody back here to start repairing these guys because they got smacked real good. Let's get down here. So these guys aren't constructors.
All right, we got another question here from Raven. For your new game and the new mechanics you added, how hard was it to mesh it with the original Rimworld mechanics and the original game?
Kent, what do you think? Was it too hard?
From a code perspective, there are two answers to that. Where it just saved off your ship to an external file and reloaded it upon game start. That was actually significantly easier than the way we do it in the current version, where you don't start a new game. Once you've built the necessary infrastructure, you can just click a button to go to a new planet, and that required a lot of digging into the game's guts, how it handled building the planets, how it handled the various factions, because you don't want the pirates from your last planet showing up on your new one. It was actually quite difficult and is still the cause of several mod incompatibilities to this day. That being said, it works.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's a little hard to... Like, it's up to the player to really balance things the way that they want them to be balanced in this game. Like, if you want to have a very difficult experience, then try not to bring as many food resources onto your ship. Or, like, when the space is so limited, you basically have to learn how to use the space the best that you can. And that itself is very hard. So if you go up with a small ship like this, that can be incredibly challenging in the Rimworld mechanics because the game assumes you have an entire map to work with. And here we have to you have to have 22 heat sinks just to keep your shields up against a comparable vessel like this one. And in the meantime, it's doing pretty okay. It has tons of weapons compared to ours. I think
that being said, the start in space option is totally a beta at this point. You are actually the first people to be seeing.
Yeah, we literally just finished it
space
this
start.
afternoon.
Nice. And
a fair bit
ship
of
it.
still needs to be done.
Yeah, like over here, I've got my heat sinks on fire and about to have a little fire foam popper prevent the entire right side of my ship from burning up. Oh man, it's taken forever. Why is this fire foam popper just burning forever?
All right,
Go
and then
off,
we got another
go
question from Zukalis here. Sorry, he's not very familiar with Rimworld. How much of this art is game art, or did you supply your own art?
The art is actually me. The code is Kent. So all of these guys, like this cool spinny doodad, this new reactor, this little ship, the thing that the ship is on, Kent made all of the wall pieces. And then these little side bits are me. These heat sinks, which are now burning up completely, are mine. The shields is mine. Lasers, the bridge. So I would say, like, once you're in space, probably about 90% is stuff that we made, and then 10% is like vanilla Rimworld stuff.
Right.
I think
the colonists are part of the Rimworld code or artwork as well, right?
Yeah, except for the suits.
They're wearing, the spacesuits were made by Thain.
Yeah. Why are my fire foam poppers not going off, Kent? What is going on?
I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
Right. And Chris also asks, what language do you code this in?
So this is done in C#. Basically, it's an extension to Unity. Rimworld was done in Unity, but in terms of modding support, it has this really cool feature where it will automatically load any compatible assembly inside one of your mods. So you just put together a DLL in C# and go to town.
Can I ask, like, what is it like to build a mod for a Unity game? Is it like, do you have to compile your own C# DLL and then load it in, and it takes a long time to kind of reload the game and get back into it? And boy, your ship is dying a terrible death right now. What is going on? My God!
It feels like my life.
But
this might be the end for the crew of Good Ship No Name.
We should give it a ship. We should give it a ship name. Rename ship.
Call it the Scream.
Down.
But yeah, what is the process like for developing a Unity mod?
So Rimworld is actually not representative of the difficulty of Unity modding in general, because one of the things that Thain did for the modding community was work on code that will load assemblies from inside the mod folder. So other games, like, for example, if you wanted to mod, I don't know, Pathfinder Kingmaker, there's an external mod manager you'd need to use for that. But Rimworld handles that all in its own code. That being said, it is fairly programming heavy. You need to know how to set up a C# solution. You need to import Rimworld's assembly as an external reference. But there are tons of tutorials out there that can get you started on your first mod.
And yeah, it's pretty much Notepad++ and some Visual Basic if you want to do like the run-of-the-mill stuff. You can
Visual Studio. Visual Basic is something else entirely.
Yeah, Visual Studio. But you can install like an old version of Unity and then write your own like little assembly files for shaders and things. And I've seen a few modders do that, but for the most part, it's just text-based.
Chris also asks
yeah,
about
we should point
UI.
out that not all... sorry.
Oh, sorry, Ken. Chris was also asking about UI and how much of that do you get for free from Rimworld, and how much did you build?
Almost all of the UI is vanilla. The stuff Thain is highlighting is the new stuff, the ship range meter and the heat and energy bars.
And Raven says it looks like a pretty candle. Yes, it does. it's 4th of July is coming early this year.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is this ship is going to get gutted out, and it's basically just going to burn from the inside, and that's how it got destroyed. And that's sad. I'm not sure why the fire foam poppers weren't going off to prevent it from heating.
It's like explosions in general. It looks like explosions in general aren't going those 2 turrets down at the bottom.
Yeah, they also are just like stuck like this. I wonder what changed.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a mod conflict or something, but we can diagnose that later.
Yeah.
So, quick question here. There's some aspects of this that I look at and I go, okay, you have some space combat like FTL, but then you also have, a Dwarf Fortress like game, like Rimworld. Like, how is there any FTL influences here? Do you want to focus more on the space combat, or are you more interested in kind of like adding a sci-fi element to the Dwarf Fortress game, or what's kind of what was your direction there?
So combat was the last major feature we added.
Got it.
And that came out back. That was sort of our stretch goal for the mod. And you're right, it was FTL influenced. The biggest thing that we added beyond what we've seen done in similar space games is the concept of range. Fast ships can basically decide, okay, I want to be at long range, medium range, short range, and the weapons you have either can't hit at all from a certain distance or suffer reduced accuracy at a certain distance. And so there's a tactical layer to it. If your ship focuses on plasma weapons, for example, you'll want to be at medium range, whereas if you're a really fast ship with railguns, you'll want to stay at long range for maximum accuracy. And that can turn into a war of attrition while you try to wear down the enemy's fuel cells, for example.
So to talk to what's going on right now, you've restarted a game on Rimworld, on your Rimworld, and you have your 3 colonists? Yeah, 3 colonists, kind of setting things up. And so the ship starts on the planet, right? You build it on the planet normally, and except for with your new mod, and then you have to launch it into space, correct? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes. Normally you would construct the ship during gameplay, but the new feature we've added tonight is the ability to start in orbit.
And how long does it take, would you say, to go from the beginning of a game to the point where you could build a ship like that?
So in Save Our Ship, the ship is buildable much earlier than in Vanilla Rimworld. In Vanilla, building a ship is an endgame goal that you might not achieve after 80 hours of gaming. With Save Our Ship, it's more of a mid-tier investment that you can launch a small orbital station after maybe 20 to 40 hours and build on it from there.
Cool.
This will vary heavily depending on playstyle and skill and your personal goals. It's entirely viable to have 100-hour colony that's never gotten into space, but has gathered the resources to build the ship all in one go.
Yeah, and some players don't want to go to space because they're really attached to their ground colony, and I can understand that. Like, when you put 400 hours into building this giant place, it can get very familiar and you get like an emotional attachment to it. And it's hard to leave that behind.
Yeah, it's different play style for sure. So we have a couple more questions here. Possibly, I got a few, so we'll go through here. What kind of future updates or luxury features do you want to see in the game? And that's from Raj.
Okay.
So the key word there is luxury. I'm afraid. Thain and I have embarked on a professional project that I don't know how off topic we want to get with that, but
well, feel free to pimp whatever projects you want to talk about coming up or you're currently working on.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to consume the vast majority of our development time foreseeable future. That being said, for Save Our Ship in particular, we might come back to it as sort of a game jam type thing. for when we're getting tired of our pro project. And the luxury feature we'd want to add in that case is an endgame quest line. Where hopping planet, you gradually pick up pieces of this godlike alien, this godlike artificial intelligence that you can then trade for citizenship on a highly advanced planet.
Yeah, and that would be a really great way to incentivize going to space in the first place, because right now you go to space with your awesome ship and you engage in ship combat for the novelty of having done so, or just in the process of going to another planet to continue your game.
And for the vast amounts of resources you can salvage.
Yeah, especially if you're ground-based
from the remnants of enemy ships.
Yeah, if you have a bunch of mods that are super resource hungry, then once you go up into space, like, it's a smorgasbord of really great high-end resources up there. If you can survive and not die when you're in combat. So if you combine those kinds of incentives together with a main quest that will really give a definitive, healthy ending to the game that feels satisfying, like it's a really long reach jumping between these 5 individual planets, getting in these pieces of this machine, constructing the machine, and having another story up there in space. I think that's really like the biggest stretch goal that we have left. Now that we can start in space, that was a huge part of our stretch goal also. And we've spent a lot of time on this one. I think we've put in 3, this is month 4, because we started on it February, getting really serious about getting this thing done.
So next question from Thomas here. That sounds great, by the way. And Thomas asks, how much do you charge, or how does selling and or revenue work for Rimworld mods?
You don't get to make any money on. Yeah, you don't get
any money?
No, you don't get paid. We get paid in. I think the main thing that we're going to be taking away from Save Our Ship for Project Morningstar that we're working on is we developed this creation kit, which lets you build a ship. And then, do I have it online right now? No, I don't. Oh, yeah, I do. You can save this XML out, and then other players can immediately start using your ship or encounter it as an enemy, at least. And this was just such an efficient way to make cool things. Like, if I just turn on development mode, I can really quickly create like a small little village, basically. And the format of that village...
You haven't turned on God mode yet.
Oh, yeah, right. That would help. But,
which, by the way, God mode allows you to finish construction immediately.
So I can build like an enemy ship really fast, slap it together, give it some weapons, and then just go down here and save out this XML, and then it appears as a template for an enemy ship. And for Morningstar, I think we need those exact same tools for our development, because it's going to make making towns and fortresses and all that kind of stuff way better than any kind of procedural engine ever could. And you can make them so quickly. You can make so many templates, and then you can invite your
all
players
of the enemy
to do the same thing.
Sorry, go.
Yeah,
cool.
And with player creativity, everybody knows that that's a really great selling point for a game. So that's basically how we're getting paid, is getting paid in the experience that we've developed and the relationship we've created.
I think a related question, in another place you're, quote unquote, getting paid is you're building an audience. And Chris asks, so SOS has 2,214 ratings and 93,668 current subscribers, which, I guess we haven't really talked much about the reception that you guys have had on this. But Chris asks, what do you do for marketing? Does it just come to you organically?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we didn't have to market this much. We've never had any major streamers pick this up and play it. We haven't had any news sites pick it up and look at it yet. I'm sure we will in the future at some point. Somebody will discover this and be like, holy crap, that's amazing. But it's pretty much just the Rimworld community being pretty awesome and telling all their friends about it.
Yeah, well, Chris says, are you allowed to do Patreon? I mean, people would kill for that audience reach.
Yeah. I mean, if you think the audience reach for this one on Patreon is going to revolutionize your life and you're going to be able to afford a mortgage, it's not. Like, our Patreon currently has $122, which is down from like 200 and something before the pandemic hit and wiped out a bunch of our supporters. But Fallout New California, the other mod that I made, that one has 5 million views. It has almost 1 million downloads. Like, yeah. And I think in donations total over the course of 8 years, it was about $7,500 total. So the reach is absolutely incredible when you know how to use it and you're prepared to capitalize it up front and immediately. Like if you're a YouTube streamer, that kind of exposure is invaluable. But if you're a game developer and you want to sell a product, giving away products for free is an awful way to market.
Yeah,
people come for what's free. They come for the game that they love. They don't come for your cool new thing that you're making.
Yeah,
and that's really frustrating. And it's something that I've had a hard time learning how to capitalize on. Is that, yeah, we have this gigantic audience, but when I ping people and I tell them, look, we've got a new demo for another game called Cartel Tycoon. It's this little indie game that me and some Russian guys are working on. It's really awesome. Come play it. Like, people get annoyed because they were here for Rimworld or they're here for New California. They were not here for this other thing that they would have to pay money for. Mm-hmm. That's been frustrating.
Well, and to follow up with that, I mean, Chris says, ask Clash of Clans, right? And I mean, if there was an opportunity here for you to potentially sell your microtransactions or a free-to-play model for your mod, or for the I'll say a Roblox kind of model here, but inside Rimworld, what do you think of that?
Players would crucify.
Thain would crucify us.
It's not Thain. It's
if it was Thain blessed, if you will, let's just say that for some reason he decided to go free to play, right?
That would be convenient for us, and it would definitely revolutionize our plans for the future. Like, we would love to make a DLC of this. Absolutely, that would be incredible. But he would say, because we know the guy.
We have, in fact, approached Thain about the possibility of integrating this into future DLC, and were brushed off rather brusquely.
Yeah, so he said no very quick, but it's his game. He can do what he wants with it. It's really not up to us. Our players are really enjoying it. They're having a lot of good times. I think it's engendered some really great positive will for us for the future. Kind of like it was said, like, people now know that we can create phenomenal products that really revolutionize games. You take Save Our Ship by itself, that's really impressive and very cool. We basically created a new genre within a game that already exists. But then with New California, we literally created an entire campaign, fully voiced, 14,000 lines of dialogue, 40 hours plus of gameplay, depending upon how you play it, and clearly showed that we were competent enough to pull that kind of stuff off.
Right on. Yeah. So next question here from Drew. I'm going backwards in time. Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to get through all of the questions here. Drew says, "Hi. Oh, by the way, hello, Drew. How's it going? Been a while. Last time I played Rimworld, there were these storytellers that adapted to a player's circumstances. What's involved with integrating them with your different game events? Are they just different states you check against, or do they provide useful algorithms for event selection?"
I'll let you answer that one because he knows best.
So I actually did not hear that question.
Oh, sorry. Last time I played Rimworld, there were these storytellers that adapted to a player's circumstances. What's involved with integrating them with your different game events? Are they just different states you check against, or do they provide useful algorithms for event selection?
So Rimworld storytellers are actually a lot more primitive than the name implies. They basically have a list of definitions for events coded in the XML files that accompany the game, and whether these events are good or bad, and how threat points they generate. And long story short, ship battles are just treated as another type of raid, depending on how big and advanced and weapon heavy your ship is. The storyteller will generate a more or less nasty raid. we eventually ended up implementing our own cust system with space sites that doesn't use Rimworld storytellers. You can scan at the ship bridge, find valuable asteroids or ship debris or that sort of thing. And that's all handled in-house, so to speak, away from Rimworld storytellers. So unfortunately, not much integration is helpful there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in this little scenario, basically we're having to do a bunch of research just to learn how to build ships again in space.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, these guys are embarking on quite an adventure. They don't.
I
know how
love
to
how
build
they're
ships.
like you've basically set up a supply area for asteroids. Is that what I'm seeing over there? Your colonists are essentially asteroid farmers over there.
Yeah, basically, we found these like little granite chunks that were down on the planet's surface. We jumped down there.
Still need to make it properly destroy chunks that it lands on. That's
okay.
When your ship lands, it needs to call like a roof collapse or something to get rid of these. Otherwise, your ship picks them up and takes them with them to space.
I thought that was kind of cool. I thought there were asteroid miners there, and I'm all about space mining. So that's
can in fact mine asteroids. One of the things they can discover by scanning at the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And
cool.
sometimes these asteroids are hollow geodes that contain ancient robots or bugs that will then try to murder you.
So it's like opening a treasure chest. You never know what you may find there.
Pretty much. And you can find ship debris full of space cannibals, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm still.
So
waiting
next
to
question
find it.
from Bobby here is, you mentioned it's difficult to survive in space, but also that there are orbital stations. Can you build large enough space structures to be self-sustaining?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
If I had a streaming capable internet connection, I would show you my starship of 5 in-game years, the Astral Wanderer, fully complete hydroponic home that provides nourishment for up to 20 colonists at a time.
Mm-hmm.
They've completely abandoned ground-based life for a home in the stars.
Which is pretty excellent. I just
sounds
launched
amazing.
a shuttle to go over to some ship debris so we can go and see what's over there. Did we implement the destroyed ship XMLs that I made, or are they?
I haven't yet done derelicts.
Okay, that's fine.
They're still the basic Rimworld base gen, unfortunately.
That's okay.
All
We'll
right.
get to
So, Raven asks. Oh, we got another question in here. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my place real quick. 1 second. Okay. Raven asks, were there any major surprises or curveballs you had to overcome during the development process?
Yes.
Approximately 3,000 of them. Rimworld is a well-coded game, but because it's not open source, a lot of guessing as to what internal systems actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And things that you would never imagine would pose a significant impediment often turn out to be the biggest problems. Like, to this day, the faction manager is the bane of my existence. Because the game is just not set up to handle shifting between multiple planets, and frankly, I'm amazed that I got it done at all.
Yeah. Like, that one is incredible. There's another mod out there called Empire, which does a lot of faction changes, and currently we're incompatible with it, but it's things like that, like the faction system, I don't think was ever meant to be modded between like large mods period, let alone planets. So the fact that we managed to get it to work even slightly is incredible.
And getting it to draw the planet beneath the space map, that was a special little slice of hell as well.
Yeah, and getting it optimized too. We had to call in some support to come. Like, Rimworld is not a game that supports threading natively. Like, it just doesn't have it. So adding threading to Rimworld is kind of like a meme, and we actually did it.
Oh no, it looks like We've run
So-
into desperate cannons aboard this space wreck.
Yeah.
So you visited some space debris out in space, I take it?
Yep.
Yeah. And these guys are coming to fight us. I just decided I wanted to have a little bit
Get
of
the
action in
cover!
the stream.
Get the cover!
Right now we're just shooting each other out in space. It's probably not the wisest decision. But
You going?
Can you
Die.
get cover? Yeah, I was gonna say. That doesn't
We
look
got
like it's
one
gonna
of
go
us.
well.
Yeah, we
So
got one of them.
Splash. Hey, Getchy, how's it going? Splash says, any thoughts about exploring the Macross Robotech route, where you have a very large ship capable of carrying an entire city? I think allowing players to transport part of their colony into space would be a nice look. Which kind of, we're talking about your massive ships, right, and orbital stations, and this kind of 5-planet arc, right? I mean, is that are you influenced at all by Macross or Robotech or this idea of really big ships?
Let me load.
Do not
some
know what
matches.
those things are.
It's
I like-
anime.
Sorry. But that explains why I am unfamiliar with it.
Mhm.
That being said, it is absolutely a goal that the player is essentially able to create. Like, I've had colonies where I've replaced the existing buildings bit by bit with ship components, so that existing infrastructure can be launched into space, and you can have a flying city. So that was absolutely a design goal from the beginning, and judging by some of the fan creation,
Yeah.
it's something that has been done time and time again.
Yeah, it really made me sad that people were definitely skipping the mid game that we designed and just going straight to like the maximum end game.
Wow, look at that thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Let me see if I can't really turn off my plans without killing them all, can I? Let's see. Remove the so there's not.
That sort of grid system is in the way.
All right.
Yeah.
So another question here. If someone wanted to support you or follow your content, where would it be a good place to check that?
Oh, buddy. We've got YouTube. We've got our social media outlets at Facebook. We also have a Discord channel, and we have a Patreon.
Radian Helix Media. It's called.
I highly recommend you guys, support Radian Helix Media as much as you can. We'll put a link to the Discord not only in the YouTube video, but also into our Discord, so y'all can go hang out with Brandon and Ken.
Yeah. Me try to start a ship battle on a ship this big. Like this one I think is called the Planetary Invasion Ship. It's like the biggest enemy ship that I made for SOS. And
Awesome.
Look at
this
all
one's
those
definitely-
shuttles.
Yeah. This thing has 120 shuttles, and it basically turns the game into a little bit of a slideshow when all of these guys are attacking each other. Let's see if it does it on this one. Yeah, like it takes it a minute to finally realize, oh crap, we have so many people.
Well, it's a good stress test too. That's pretty cool. You found the limits.
Yeah, we've definitely found the limits of what this wants to support. So you can just kind of see the amount of ordnance this thing is firing at us. It's incredible. Let's fire back at him with our big ship. I think the big ship battles are like the most exciting and intense because you just got like tons of ordnance flying around, and this is really cool. It makes the space start definitely a little bit slow because you're building your way up to this.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is very exciting. It's got so many engines. It's got all of these weapons that it can throw at us. And these are like the two of the biggest ships that are in the game right now. It's the
Nice.
heavy battle cruiser and the planetary invasion ship. And I really like it when you can see like the heat of your shields like, starting to like bake rooms. Right now, this thing is just like, pelting. Yeah, this is what I think.
I
when
love the
players
giant
are-
beasts of lasers that you have. I didn't realize that those were weapons. I thought they were like engines or something back there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get a piece of it to break off because Ken's coded this amazing system where like these pieces here are probably going to be the first parts to go. This is where it turns into a slideshow. They're about ready to attack my ship. I can feel it coming. That's when it becomes a slideshow, is when the hundreds of boarding parties are getting ready to jump between ships.
Got it.
But basically, when the ship is breaking up, you can see pieces of it floating off into space. It's really amazing.
Nice. So, Chris also has a piggyback question off of Raven here regarding, community management. So, does all communication with fans of your mod communicate with you through your Steam Workshop page? So, how do you go about talking with your fans?
We directly communicate mostly through that Steam page with the fans, but we also have our Discord that we communicate with also. Mm-hmm. And then there's
what about
lots
Reddit?
Of other. We do some Reddit work. Like I reach out on Reddit every now and again, but we mostly just let Reddit do its own thing because we don't have a channel for that. We do have one for New California, but we don't have one for Radian Helix yet.
Do you have a deliberate amount of effort you put into kind of community management and responding to people? Do you wake up in the morning, have your coffee, and go through posts or anything like that?
Yes, I do that absolutely. Like I would say probably at least 5 hours of my day every day are dedicated to that. Like
wow,
spread across the day. Like I'm always responding to people on our Discord, like constantly talking to people on Discord. On that Steam page, I check it at least once a day, and our Facebook doesn't get as much interaction as it used to these days. It used to get tons, but now it's just kind of quiet. But
yeah. So how big is your Discord right now?
The Radian Helix Discord is 750, and then the New California one has just under 10,000.
Got it. Cool. That's impressive. And you mentioned though,
Thain is an amazing community manager.
Yes.
I'm sort of the misanthropic recluse, but we complement each other.
Exactly. That's a great combo, right? I am more of an introvert myself. And the idea of having somebody who could do 5 hours of community management as kind of my, gaming development buddy would be awesome. And it also makes me think about how that you talk about the amount of subscribers you have to your mod and all these thousands of ratings of the game, and I just go, well, I think your effort that you put into communication is paying you back through those numbers.
Yeah, I think there's at least some element of that. Like we do get, there's a YouTuber base basically of YouTubers that really like to play with SOS. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that in the future, like this guy like Brimie, he's got almost 300,000 views playing with Save Our Ship. And this is the old version. So there are some on here that have...
what's the difference between the old and the new version?
The old version didn't contain ship-to-ship weapons yet.
Oh, okay.
And you can tell that it doesn't have my cool art on some things, like it's a bit ugly. Nice. But yeah, like that's definitely going to be something that's going to help us in the future. The number one thing this is going to give us, like the best thing that we're going to get is when an investor looks at our body of work, they can clearly see that there's a lot of technical competence and artistic competence.
And a lot of tabs in your browser as well.
There's going to be a great ability to...
I have a great ability to tab.
A great ability to make tabs and also organize a project and get people organized and excited about things. Because I've gotten very good at creating organic reach and learning how to interface with those kinds of markets. But... Cool. Yeah, this is basically
all the bugs we fixed.
A list of all of the bugs that we fixed and bugs that are outstanding and audience feedback. Like every day I'll come through and I'll be like, the point defense system isn't firing correctly, and here's a solution to it. Like when you select the bridge, it needs to be able to aim at the enemy, and the small lasers, when they're set to point defense, they will not fire if they're targeting the enemy ship. So they won't shoot down missiles when they're targeting the enemy, basically. And I get like little nuggets of that just by reading what the players are telling me in our Steam page or telling me on Discord or things that I experienced in my own playthrough. And I kind of distill it down and I put it in this big Excel sheet and I track the numbers for it. And that is a system that has worked out super great So much so that we're doing it on our new game now as well in the exact same way. So
Great.
the methods that we've developed while making these mods have taken us from, like, when I do professional work at like different AAA studios, I'm a freelancer. I only get to interface with the game so much as it's in the purview of my job. Like, I'm only here to make 3D art assets or to rig models or to set dress and environment. I don't get to interact with the audience. I don't get to make big high-level decisions. But when I'm making a mod, I get to be the whole system of production pipeline, and I get to see all of the nooks and crannies and where things can fail. I understand how plans can quickly spiral out of control and you get feature creep that kills your project. I've become very good at managing that and cutting things down and trying to compartmentalize the best elements of them and operating on a very small budget or no budget in a case of a mod, and sometimes sporadic assistance. So those kinds of experiences have really made it really good for me, circumventing the pipeline of you start working in the industry as a freelancer or like the new hire guy that they want to pigeonhole to be just this one little thing that they want you to do. But if you want to make your own games and really run a system like this, you have to show initiative. It's kind of like what Chris was talking about Slater earlier. If you want to get into the industry, you have to show that initiative. So making games, making game jams, those kinds of things. The exact same thing is true for your mods. And I so far have been rewarded when talking to investors is they take you significantly more seriously, showing them this massive project that you've been managing for years and produced versus I worked like the Pixel Gypsy circuit, and I worked for CD Projekt Red, and I worked for Bethesda, and all of these other little companies that they're big, they're really great names to have on your resume, but if you weren't the producer of those projects, if you haven't shown an ROI on your products yet, investors don't want to talk to you. They don't care. So this is a good way to get around that and start to give them tangible numbers that they can see, where the mods that you've made have now generated millions of views. You have people that are reviewing you super well. You have a loyal fan base. People are communicating with you on a daily basis, and they can kind of see what your vision is and how dedicated you are to doing it, not just talking about it, not just doing design documents, but actually making it happen.
Right.
And that really helps a lot.
And in case it's a little small on the Discord, you know, that Fallout New California was showing 7 million views there on that was ModDb, right?
Yeah, and that's actually going to be one of our future investors also.
Cool.
I don't know why is the total downloads not showing on this one. All right, but one of our future investors is going to be over there from ModDB and the Mod.io guys.
Great, and you know that's something too, right? Gaming doesn't have to be creating your own engine or using Unity. Game development can be and has historically always been mod development, right? You look at Dota, which was a mod for Warcraft. You have a lot of games that just can't. Dota Auto Chess, right? It's a mod of a mod in a sense, right? And yeah, Counter-Strike, exactly, Chris, right? Always perfect example, right? And I can't believe I forgot about that one, right? Chris also asks, we'll take a couple more questions here, and then we'll just wrap this up. You know, that was some fantastic advice on that last answer there, you guys. But Chris has a question of, so who are your investors, and are you making your own games?
Yeah, we're currently working on one. It's called Project Morningstar. It's definitely early in development, and it's kind of starting to come along. I have some early art here that belongs to it. Like, here's what, kind of like a mock-up of what our future world map is going to look like. It's going to have mountains and rivers and valleys, and each of these little hexagons is going to be a map that you can drop into and visit. Each of them will have like little towns, and we're currently working on developing our characters. Let's see if I can find one that I've got available. Yeah. It's like we're making our outfits and our characters. We're going to make it really kind of simple graphics. We're not going to go overboard like we did on New California, where it was all 3D models and all kinds of crazy looking stuff. Instead, we're going to try to go for like an 8-directional, minimal animation sort of feeling where characters may not have a lot of obvious expressiveness on them, but they can have a really great internal life. You can hear their thoughts in like text bubbles and things as they pop up, and you get a lot of like cool communication between them, building relationships between towns and individuals, and having overarching goals of like how you're going to go from somebody who just arrived on this fragment of a destroyed planet, basically a Dyson sphere, into somebody who's organizing against an entire like mean empire and things like that. So it's going to be pretty sweet.
Great.
I'm very excited for that.
The idea is it's similar to Rimworld. Sorry, go.
Go ahead.
The idea is it's in the same genre as Rimworld or Dwarf Fortress, but with an increased emphasis on the overall political situation as well as the situation of the world. As the alien megastructure continues to decay, environmental consequences become more and more apparent, and building a civilization capable of tackling these challenges, whether that means repairing some ancient piece of machinery that originally kept the Dyson sphere functioning, or fighting this sort of cancerous black ooze that's spilling across a sect of the landscape. It'll take infrastructure that the player has built. So there's a reason to keep building or conquering towns, recruiting new allies to cause that goes beyond simple survival. It's a story of civilizations clashing and then possibly banding together to tackle global challenges. And it's also a deeply personal story of the player and the characters who trust them enough to adventure with them in an RPG party. So it's sort of a world RPG hybrid.
Nice.
Yeah, so Super Dwarf Fortress Adventure Mode. Maybe
Nice
a little
pitch.
bit
I
less
like it.
crazy. It may be a little bit less crazy than that. We're definitely going to pare it down some, but that's basically the idea. And Kent did a very good job of describing it today. That was quite good. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to work on my pitch. I'm tired.
Well, you know, you can watch
You
you can watch the video of yourself later and write it all down, or watch the video later of Ken and write that all down.
There you go.
Great.
All right.
Okay, well, I don't think there's any more questions here, and overall, that was a fantastic presentation. You know, so much information from so many aspects. Thank you so much, Ken and Brandon, for presenting. I'd like to just, give you guys one last clap, if possible, in the monthly meetings chat here, and everybody, if you can, just put your claps in. All right. Any closing thoughts, Brandon and Ken?
I think we covered everything. Yeah, you can definitely come and join us on our Patreon. That is going to be Radian Helix Media's Patreon. Let me just toss that into our chat. And we've also got a physical card game that we made this year. But unfortunately, 2020 is not exactly the year for... It's not exactly the year for sitting across from one another handling physical objects in close proximity.
You don't say.
Yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break on the card game for now, but we'll have that ready to market later. And we actually created that at the Paper Jam at Tucson Game Developers, and that was awesome. And we really need to have another one of those.
We should do that. That was a really good time. And for those who haven't done it, we had what we called the Paper Jam, which was everyone who did it loved it. We got to do it again. It was a 1 hour jam where we made a game with paper and pencil. That was you could only use paper and pencil, and then we spent another hour playing each other's games, and it was super fun. It's amazing what you can throw together in an hour. It was just a paper and pencil. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
it
we
was
should
great.
do that. Once we can be in proximity to each other again.
Yeah, once we could actually expose one another to our microbiomes, then
Yes.
and then pretend like it wasn't such a big deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming to another and our first ever virtual meeting. It was great to have so many people here. There's some great information, and we're gonna call it here now. And hopefully we'll see you online in the Discord. Have a good one.